You are listening to the Knightline Sports Network, brought to you by Travis Dever and the Dever Team, 386-690-1636.
Hey, Jeff, Andrew Fegley here. Hey, I just want to congratulate you on 100 shows. 100 shows is a ton of shows to do, and it's not an easy thing. And I appreciate you doing this, as well as I know that Night Nation and the rest of the American appreciates you doing the show as well. And here's to 100 more. And possibly down the line, maybe a Big 12 report. So I really appreciate it, man. Just wasn't sure if we were ever going to get to this point, but we did. Thank you so much, man, and congratulations again.
Yes, sir. The 100th episode of the AAC Report. Andrew's right. They said it wouldn't last, but I don't know that we've proven anything wrong other than we're stubborn. But here we are. Episode number 100. And we thank all of you that do listen each and every week. And coming up on this week's edition, we recap week 6 and get you ready for week number 7. Including our Spotlight Game of the Week, we will talk to Roger Phipps from our Knightline flagship podcast to preview the UCF Cincinnati clash on Saturday. But first, let's recap what happened last week as the Bearcats did make history. They enter Week 7 ranked number 3 in the AP poll. It's the highest ranking in the poll in program history for the Bearcats, as well as the highest by an AAC team in the 9-year history of the league. The Bearcats achieved that lofty ranking following a solid 52-3 victory over Temple last Friday. The 23rd consecutive home field win for the Bearcats, who trail only Clemson at 31 for the longest active streak nationally. Desmond Ritter leading the way once again with 259 passing yards and 3 touchdowns. And running back Jerome Ford added 149 on the ground and 2 scores. The Bearcat defense 6 sacks and held the Owls to 226 yards. SMU has moved up to number 23 in the polls after they rally for a 31-24 victory at Navy. They trailed 21-7 midway through the second, but a 95-yard kickoff return for a touchdown by Brian Massey, the turning point. And SMU closed out the game with a 24-3 scoring stretch. Tanner Mordecai, 30 of 40 for 324 yards and 2 touchdowns. He now has 26 on the year, the most of any FBS player. And the Mustangs off to a 6-0 start for the second time in 3 seasons. Houston is 3-0 in AAC play in the winner of 5 straight. They down Tulane 40-22. Clayton Toon had 280 yards and 3 touchdowns. And the Cougar defense had 8 sacks, 12 tackles for loss, including a pair of sacks from defensive tackle Logan Hall. Freshman running back Alden McCaskill had 93 yards on the ground and a touchdown. UCF ends a 2-game slide. They have a late touchdown by Mark Anthony Richards to take a 2016 win against East Carolina at the Bounce House. East Carolina held a 16-10 lead down the stretch, but a field goal and a 3-and-out set the Knights up for that go-ahead score. Richards getting into the end zone with 23 seconds left. Johnny Richardson, his backfield mate, was the leading rusher with 104 yards and a touchdown on 16 carries. And Tulsa celebrated its homecoming, a 35-29 win against Memphis. The Golden Hurricane got 126 yards and 2 touchdowns from Shamari Brooks and 2 touchdown passes from quarterback Davis Brin. Memphis had 3 turnovers. It offset another great performance by Calvin Austin III, 13 catches, 200 yards, and a touchdown. The schedule for AAC teams very light this week. Many teams on the bye. So there's only 3 games involving conference teams. Thursday night, it kicks off at 7:30 on ESPN as Navy visits Memphis. That series tied at 3 games apiece. Memphis won last year in a 10-7 struggle. On Saturday, Tulsa at South Florida. That's at noon on ESPNU. South Florida leads the all-time series 3-1. Tulsa won last year's meeting as they drubbed the Bulls 42-13. And now let's hear a quick word for our good friend up in Memphis, Frank Murtaugh.
100 episodes of the AAC Report. Wow, what a milestone, Jeff. Big congratulations from Memphis. I always enjoy talking Memphis Tiger basketball and football, as you well know. Sometimes I overtalk, but you're a great listener, a great host, and here's to the next 100 episodes. Sincere salute, buddy.
And coming up next, we talk about our Spotlight Game of the Week as number 3 Cincinnati hosts UCF on Saturday afternoon. Our Roger Phipps from our Knightline flagship podcast joins me to talk about that when the AAC report continues after this.
Hey, this is Travis Dever, Kai's Real Estate, the Dever Team, New Smyrna Beach. Your source for real estate and everything else, New Smyrna Beach. Proud sponsor of Knightline. Call me anytime at 386-690-1636. That's 386-690-1636. Let me show you my hometown, New Smyrna Beach, UCF's favorite beach. Go Knights and charge on.
An auto accident can change your life forever. At Chad Barr Law, we are raising the bar on what to expect from your personal injury attorney. Hi, I'm Chad Barr, and I want you to know that our entire team is dedicated to providing you with the representation you deserve in your greatest time of need. If you or a loved one have been injured in an auto accident, call 407-599-9036 for a free consultation or visit chadbarlaw.com. At Chad Barr Law, our clients come to us in need and leave as family. Offices, Altamont Springs.
Looking for more out of your Porsche? Look no further than flat6motorsports.com. They have the widest selection of aftermarket Porsche parts anywhere in the world. With over 85 product lines and in-depth expertise, flat6motorsports.com is your one-stop shop for any Porsche performance needs. Whether you're shopping for intakes, exhausts, suspension, or tuning, they have you covered. Flat6motorsports.com is the premier Porsche aftermarket specialist. Check them out at flat6motorsports.com.
Hi, this is Kelly Hines from the Tulsa World. I just wanted to congratulate Jeff Allen on 100 episodes of his podcast. I always enjoy coming on because I know it'll be really fun and because we will talk about cats. So I can't wait to see what the next 100 episodes will be like. Congratulations.
Yes, I always enjoy talking about cats with Kelly Hines. Thank you for that well-wish statement. And speaking of cats, we will talk about the Bearcats. Number 3, Cincinnati, hosting UCF Saturday at noon on ABC. And joining us now from our flagship program, Knightline, is our own Roger Phipps. Roger, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it.
Hey, Jeff, glad to join you. Excited to talk about this game in multiple ways. Hopefully we somehow pull out a win, although most of the other folks are not expecting us to. So excited to talk to you tonight.
Yeah, glad to have you here. And let's kind of talk about Cincinnati just a little bit first off the top. So they got to the number 3 ranking, which I'm shocked they broke the top 4. But here we are, and there they are. And the season has been, they slow and steady build for them. And then, they go in on the road, beat Indiana in a Big Ten game. Then they get the big one against Notre Dame with a big fourth quarter score to put that game away. And then last week, potential letdown against Temple, and not so fast. They got the style points that everybody says they need to get from here on out. What is your take on this Cincinnati Bearcat team? They seem to be hitting on all cylinders.
Well, to me, they're a well-coached team, number one. Number two, they're consistent. Their offense is consistently hitting around 40 points per game, which is always going to put you in a position to win, especially when you have a great defense. And really the story of the season for me, for the Bearcats, is got to be the defense. They've really clamped down this year. They've got a really good defensive backfield, so their defensive backs are really solid. They can run with anybody as far as receivers are concerned. Their front line is pretty stout, so they've done a pretty good job against both the run and the pass. And, if you're scoring 40 points a game and you've got consistency on that defense, it's always going to put you in a position to win.
Yeah, and plus, they bring that hard hat football with the running game as well. And, I don't know that you can say enough about Desmond Ritter. All the guy does is win football games. He's not flashy or spectacular, but he runs enough to be lethal there, and he comes up with the pass plays when he needs to.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing about Desmond that he does really well is he doesn't make mistakes, right? So when you've got a good defense and you don't make mistakes, then, you've always got a chance to win. I mean, from UCF's perspective, it reminds me a lot of a Leary ball, right? His big focus was making sure we had a tough and stout defense, a good running game, and just don't make mistakes. You don't want to give possessions to other teams, and they've done a really good job of that and the plus minus on the defense. As far as Desmond Ritter is concerned, he's consistent. The big thing for him that he's done really, really successfully is he knows when to pull the ball and to run to the edge. That's his weapon. So if you're covering their receivers, he's always a threat to pull the ball down and just run to the edge. And there's only so much field that you can cover. And with the defenses you're playing, you're either playing against the run, which leaves their receivers open. And he's not a great passer. He doesn't have a cannon of an arm, but he takes advantage of the underneath stuff when it's open. So they're not going to throw 30, 40 yards down the field, but they'll take those 10-yard passes and just consistently eat clock. So, when they're eating clock, they're taking away opportunities. And so for them, that's totaled wins.
Yeah. And that's really what all that matters, getting the W when it's all said and done. Of course, now the Knights come in at 3-2 as they snap a 2-game losing streak against East Carolina last week. Give me your thoughts on how you think the season has gone so far under new coach Gus Malzahn.
All right. So as far as Gus is concerned, he came in with a lot of energy. There was a lot of positivity coming into the season about Gus. He brought a lot of transfers in that we were hoping were going to help. Big names like Big Cat from Auburn. He's got Mark Anthony Richards he brought in from Auburn. A bunch of different transfers that were going to help us shore up, a defense, number one, that we were all concerned about coming out from last year. We were pretty excited about the offense that we had coming back. The running back situation was a little bit different. I know my co-host Andrew was super excited about Mr. Bowser, right? And we didn't know much about him other than he came off of injury. He was really good his freshman year for Washington or Northwestern. I can't remember. Northwestern, yeah. No, I always get those two confused. Northwestern, his first year, then he had a series of injuries. He came in and he was a human wrecking ball. I mean, he's a big, stout guy, had speed, was able to cut. And that running game really, really took the focus off of the wide receivers. In that first game against Boise, it was a big win. And a large part of that was Bowser's ability to rack up yards. Anytime you can rack up yards at will, 9 or 10 yards a clip, you're going to have success, right? Because it opens up the passing game. And when you have a weapon like Dylan Gabriel in the backfield, that's going to just open up all kinds of options for him. So, it was a pressure reliever. He was also good at blocking. And so everything was running on all cylinders. Even the defense was playing well. And then, Dylan got hurt in that Louisville game. So everybody was excited in that Louisville game. It was a nail biter. Last play of the game, he broke his collarbone, and then everybody took a huge collective deep breath and said, oh. So, that really was a big question because now we're in the quote unquote Mikey Keene era, who's a true freshman, 18 years old. He came in early to learn the ropes, and now he's been thrown into the fire. So, coming into the last game against Navy, we didn't know what we were going to get. We were hoping we'd be able to ride the running backs a little bit more than we did. Unfortunately, it didn't work out for us. Navy did what Navy does, which is ball control. And really, we had a few unfortunate turnovers. And again, this is where that consistency comes in. And we lost that game. So, with ECU, we didn't really use Mikey as much. He did increase his completion percentage to, I believe it was 65%. So, he was efficient. He's just not throwing the bombs that we're used to from Dylan and Mackenzie Milton, right? He's throwing quick underneath stuff. And then our running game has kind of been taken over by Johnny Richardson as the primary feature back. And Johnny Richardson, again, is averaging anywhere around 6 yards per carry. He's a smaller guy, scat back type of guy, and is doing well. So as far as the season expectations go, I think they took a big hit, quote unquote, after Dylan took that big hit. So, it's kind of tough because we've been bitten by the injury bug hard. Last radio show, there was 35% of our starters are out right now. So that's been a big key to the season. Both of our starting defensive tackles are now out with Kalia Davis being out. And that front seven was really the strength of that defense and took pressure off of the relatively young secondary. So, again, the injury bug has hit. So I think everybody was high flying. There were high expectations. We were doing well. We had a great running game. We had Dylan Gabriel as a weapon. And the expectation was we were going to score points. Now I think expectations are a little tempered. It's not necessarily Gus per se. It's just that we've been bitten by the injury bug. And anytime you've got a freshman 18-year-old quarterback back there, there's always going to be big question marks.
Yeah, let's talk about Mikey Keene, though. I will say that, in his first two games, he's kind of acquitted himself pretty well, considering he's a fresh-faced 18-year-old kid.
Yeah, and he did, he had two touchdowns against Navy. ECU, he didn't have any touchdowns. We did it all on the ground. I think Gus was trying to take a little pressure off of him. He did have an interception, but by and large, he didn't make a whole lot of freshman mistakes. So, it's game manager type of situation for him. Now, Mikey, in this week's game, is going to be really interesting. Your first game's at Navy, which is kind of hollowed ground, right? So that's got to be, super exciting. Now you're going to go play the number 3 team in the country at their house on ABC at 12 noon. So everybody says he's got nerves of steel, but that will definitely be tested this week.
Yeah, no question about that. And, the Knights running game, I think, is also, considering the fact they lost Bowser, you mentioned Richardson, Trillian Coles has contributed nicely. And then we saw Mark Anthony Richards at the close out the ECU game. So even with the, departure of Bentavious Thompson and other injuries, that running back room, I guess, was even deeper than we thought.
Yeah, it's definitely stacked. The big thing, Mark Anthony Richards, he is a huge weapon. And by huge, I mean physically big, the type of back that Gus likes to use, that SEC style prototypical. He was a 4-star Auburn running back, right? He's just had some injuries that he has been dealing with, and he just hasn't gotten back into playing shape yet because he had surgery and it took him a while to get back, and now he's starting to get into playing shape. If we could get him back, I think that he would be the primary or feature back. As I said, Johnny Richardson has done okay, but how long can you keep running a guy who's 5'7", $180, $190? When we had that situation going before, we had Otis Anderson to run, we had Adrian Killens to run, they'd switch.
Right, McCray, yeah.
You had kind of running back by committee, and they were all successful in their own right. But as a running back, it's tough, especially when you're playing college ball. You got 300+ pound defensive tackles now in the AAC. This is no longer Conference USA lines. You're going to take a beating. So, how long will that last? So Bowser supposedly, or the rumor is that Bowser will be back for this game. So that could be a huge advantage for us, assuming he's back to 100% strength. The tandem of him and Johnny Richardson back there, I think is something that, that will be beneficial for us. I think both of them are decent pass catchers. Johnny Richardson, the one place where he kind of is a little, might have a little challenge is he's not as good at pass blocking. So you bring someone like Bowser in there who can run 30 times a game, who's got the body, who's got the build to be able to do that, still fleet in his feet. I think that's going to be an advantage for us if we get him back.
Well, I tell you what, so I guess what the last line I heard was that we were 20-point underdogs. I don't know how much that line has changed since I heard that about a day or so ago. How do you expect this game to play out? It was good to get a win going in, but this is going to be a big order, I think.
Well, I mean, there's a couple of things that I really think it started. The line was 11 points. Now it's, as you said, 20. That's still where it's sitting at right now. I don't think it's going to be a 20-point game. Personally, I think, the one challenge that we have defensively is that we lost that interior star power, right? So Ricky Barber's not there. Kalia Davis is not going to be there. Big Cat has the one drawback on Big Cat is he struggled at times in understanding how to maintain the edge, right? He's pretty fast for his size. But the big thing that Desmond Ritter brings to the table is he's going to run to the edge. He's done it over and over and over again. And it's been something I've brought up consistently that we're keys to the game. You saw that at Navy, and so it'll be interesting to see what Anthony Williams comes up with for, the team as far as what the defense is going to look like. What's he going to bring to the table? Again, big game. If we don't turn the ball over, I think we have our strategy is going to be, if we have Bowser back, is run Bowser as often as we can, limit possessions, and limit the potential mistakes that Mikey could make because they've got a veteran defensive backfield. And if that all happens, I think it'll be a closer game than that 20-point spread. I actually predicted on the radio show that, it would be a loss for UCF, as much as it pains me to say that. I just think this team is senior laden. They're experienced. They've played in big games before. And you're going up against a team led by a true freshman quarterback who's 18 years old. And I keep bringing that up, but I mean, they are the leader of your offense, and it does limit what you have, what you're able to do. And when you're only averaging 5 yards per pass, for an average, that doesn't mean that you're going to be able to move the ball very far. And it also means that folks are going to be able to crowd the box, right? Because if everything that you're doing is within 10 yards, and you've got a running back that you're going to ride, that means that they're going to be able to key off of that. So unless, I'd expect Gus to use some jet sweeps or some other type of trickeration to elongate the field a little bit from sideline to sideline so that, there's a potential threat outside of that box. So if he can do that successfully, and keep some pressure off of Mikey Keene, I do believe that it'll probably be maybe a touchdown or a touchdown to 10-point game, somewhere around there. Unfortunately, I do think, this is Cincinnati's year. The last 2 years, they've been extremely lucky when they've played us. But this year, the old adage of the better team wins. I think the better team wins this week. However, it's college football. You have no idea. Desmond Ritter might go down. Anything could happen.
Yeah, look what happened in college football last weekend. I mean,
my goodness, it was chaos.
It certainly was. And kind of adding that chaos now, as I mentioned, Cincinnati got to the number 3 ranking. We're still a little bit away from the college football playoff rankings coming out. My sense is, even if they run the table, they're still not getting in. I think I just think it's still going to be stacked against them. Like it or not, they're already starting with, well, their conference schedule isn't that good. Hey, we've heard all this stuff before, right?
Yeah, UCF's heard these things before.
So you have that going, but people don't really understand how good the football is in the AAC. And then I think the second thing is, which people are probably going to be tired of me saying, but my line is definitely that this will be the year that Notre Dame will finally be admitted to being overranked.
Can we do that for Texas and Miami and a few other people too?
Yes.
Although Texas is playing better this year, so I think they've got one loss on the season. So I can't take too much away from them this year.
Yeah. So do you think they have any prospects of getting into the playoff if they can run the table? I mean, they're going to have to win every game, obviously.
Well, I think there's a few things that are going for them. One, obviously bias is always involved with this. We've seen it over the years, and no way that a group of 5 team could ever compete in the vaunted playoff, right? However, the things that they have going for them is the rest of the Power 5 conferences. There's not really any clear, teams that are above and beyond anybody else. Pac-12, Oregon was their best bet, and I believe they lost last week. The Big 12, you've got Texas. That's really in OU's usually in there, but I'm not sold on them. They've been winning by the skin of their teeth. It's not what you're used to seeing. Their quarterback got replaced mid-game last game. The ACC has nobody. Now that Trevor Lawrence has moved on, the ACC really has nobody. The traditional powers are all not playing well. UNC has losses. So at the end of the day, when you look around the spectrum of college football, there's nobody really that you could point to, except maybe a second A or SEC team that really is a true competitor for that spot. Now, the second piece of information that I kind of think about is some of that bias is gone because Cincinnati's going to the Big 12, as is UCF, right? So, I think it's easier to stomach now that, there's an official label on there. So if everything shakes out the way it has been this season, and there's no clear dominant teams out there outside of Alabama, and yes, they took a loss to Texas and A&M, but they're still a dominant team.
Alabama could still absorb a second loss and still get in, just because of their brand. Yeah. I mean, you might be right on that, especially with the other teams not playing as well. Most of the other teams that are top 25 already have one loss. Yeah, so, and if they lose to Georgia in the SEC championship, right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So at the end of the day, I think Cincinnati has two things going for them. One, this is a year of chaos. There's not really any challengers in the other Power 5 conferences. And then secondly, I also think that, getting that Big 12 branding, even though they're not officially in the Big 12, I think it makes it easier for them to stomach, and it may cause some folks to push for them, especially since the Big 12 hasn't had as much participation as the SEC or other folks. Yeah, so I think that would be kind of interesting. The Big 12 will get, a proxy. Yeah, a proxy into the playoff. I mean, how cool would that be? That would be interesting. Oh, well, it should be quite a festival to look at on Saturday. It's amazing how things have changed. You think back, it's only just been a short amount of time since Cincinnati and UCF, they had College Game Day in Orlando, and they played the primetime game on ABC. This one not quite as strong on the marquee, but, a noon kickoff on ABC is still a pretty good slot. Yeah, it's a great slot. It'll be great exposure, but as George O'Leary used to say, you either get great exposure or you get exposed. I'm hoping it's not the latter. There you go. All right, Roger, please, for the folks who are in our AAC audience, promote what you got going on at the Knightline Sports Network.
Yeah, that says it all. You can find us on all of the major distribution channels for podcasts. We have 4 different shows that we run. We have the radio show, a Knightline at Night. We broadcast that on 107.3 FM from Orlando, but we do record it and put it on to the broadcast network as well. And then in addition to that, we also do the Knightline podcast, which is the flagship podcast for the network. We've been doing it for several years. It's one of those things that it was the first podcast for UCF that was out there. Andrew has been doing it a really long time. He really knows his stuff. And, hopefully I bring something salient to the table. But at the end of the day, come check us out there. It's great. We have a variety. We have one show, Take a Left at Albuquerque with Sam Albuquerque. And, he talks about all sports. So he's talking NFL, NBA, and then obviously the AAC report with you, Jeff Allen. We have you on there as well. So it creates a good variety for people to listen to, whether you're a UCF fan, you're not a UCF fan, if you're just a general sports fan, it's all out there for you to listen to. And again, as always, appreciate everything that you do.
Yeah, and you know what? You got a huge honor tonight because this is the 100th episode of the AAC report.
I know. Congratulations. That's super exciting. I was telling Andrew that the other day. And I was like, 100 episodes, and folks that don't do this, don't realize this, takes a lot of time, effort, blood, sweat, and editing. So, and the editing takes most of the time.
Yeah.
Congratulations to you and thank you for your commitment, not only to UCF, but the rest of the American sports teams out there, and everything that you've done to promote and educate the fan bases on these teams. Hopefully, I don't know if you're going to keep it the American or when we move on, if you decide to make it the Big 12 podcast, but either way, appreciate everything that you're doing and bringing to the table.
Yeah, I definitely think rebranding is in the future at come the time. So, Roger, as always, we thank you for stepping over and giving us a preview for this week's game.
My pleasure, and thank you for having me, and happy 100.
Again, it's a noon kickoff on ABC for UCF and Cincinnati. The series tied all time at 3 games apiece. The Bearcats won a shootout against the Knights in Orlando last year, 36-33. As we mentioned, Cincinnati in their 52-3 romp over Temple, running back Jerome Ford, a career-high 149 yards and 2 touchdowns, as he helped them remain unbeaten, and that garners him the Offensive Player of the Week award. The Defensive Player of the Week, Tatum Bethune, had a career-high 17 tackles to lead the Knight defense in that East Carolina victory. 11 solo stops for him as he returned from injury and figured in the tackle on 24% of East Carolina's offensive plays. And Brian Massey's 95-yard kickoff return for a touchdown that helped turn the tide for SMU against Navy. And their come-from-behind win gets him the Special Teams Player of the Week.
This is Sam from the Scott and Holm podcast. I wanted to give a special shout out to our good buddy Jeff of the AAC Report on 100 episodes. Buddy, where does the time go? Just wanted to say you're absolutely one of our most favorite people to talk with. Looking forward to hopefully someday running into you at a game in Orlando, Houston, or parts in between, and hoping for another good 100 episodes. Hoping we could talk here sometime in the not too distant future when your show may or may not be the Big 12 Report. Keep it easy, Jeff. Go Cougs, and for you, charge on.
Thank you, Sam. Always appreciate you and Dustin when you come on the show to give me the Houston Cougars outlook on things. Appreciate that message. Coming up next, we'll check around other sports in the AAC as the 100th episode of the AAC Report continues right after this.
If you haven't figured it out yet, I love Tijuana Flats. I would love them even if they weren't a partner with us on the Knightline Sports Network. They have all kinds of great Tex-Mex food, and it's fresh, by the way. Made to order burritos, tacos, enchiladas, chimichangas, quesadillas, bowls, nachos, and taco salads. And if you haven't tried the queso, you are completely missing out. It is the best queso that I've ever had in my life. Absolutely hands down. And the sauce bar that they have, everything from wild to mild in there. Absolutely awesome, awesome stuff. Not only do I love the food at Tijuana Flats, but I love the company, a UCF-born company. And they give back to the community with the Justin Queso Foundation. So head to your local Tijuana Flats. Tex-Mex for everyone. Hey Jeep Wrangler owners, have you ever sat in your office at work and watched the rain just pour into your Jeep because the weatherman said that there was a 0 chance of rain? Or you put your doors back on because there was a 100% chance and then not a drop of rain fell? Well, there's a company out there that can help take the worry away and give you the peace of mind to be without your doors. The company's called Life Without Doors. They make waterproof rain curtains and dash covers for Wranglers. Life Without Doors is there to help make the decision to leave the doors at home an easy one. Find out more at lifewithoutdoors.com.
Spice up your company with homemade marketing services from Tasty Gravy Creative. Tasty Gravy serves up a menu of budget-friendly marketing, graphic design, and public relations services customized to your specific goals. Co-owned by a UCF graduate, Tasty Gravy can help refresh your brand, strengthen your online presence, or reinforce your company's message. Contact Tasty Gravy for help with your website, social media, marketing, advertising materials, and more. Visit tastygravy.com.
All right, let's take a look around other sports in the AAC. We will start off first with women's soccer. Memphis leading the conference at 4-0. They are 10-1-1 overall. South Florida right behind them at 3-1-1, 8-3-2 overall. Houston at 2-1-1 in conference, 10-3-2 is their overall record. And SMU also at 2-1-1, 8-2-1 overall. The offensive player of the week, Tanya Boychuk of Memphis, had a pair of game-winning goals last week as they had victories over Tulsa and Cincinnati to help move the Tigers into first place. The defensive player of the week, her teammate Haley Spray, she played all 180 minutes in the Tigers' wins over Tulsa and Cincinnati, helping the defense to allow only 4 shots on goal and 1 goal allowed over those 2 matches. The goalkeeper of the week, Maeve English of East Carolina, allowed 1 goal in 192 minutes of action last week, including making 12 saves in a pair of victories. And the rookie of the week, her teammate, Haley McWhirter, as she repeats that honor, scored the golden goal in their double overtime victory at Houston on Sunday. In men's soccer, looking at the standings, Tulsa and UCF tied atop the standings at 4-1 in conference. Tulsa 9-1 overall, UCF 6-4 overall. SMU and Memphis both 3-2 on the season, and the Mustangs are 6-2 overall, and Memphis 4-6-1. For the Tigers, Maxi Galizzi had a big performance in their overtime win against SMU. Match-high 6 shot attempts, converted both of his shots on the goal on the night for the Tigers to garner the Offensive Player of the Week honors. His teammate Arthur DeLuca is the Defensive Player of the Week, as they limited SMU to just 4 shots on goal in the overtime win. The Goalkeeper of the Week, Kazuna Takasi of South Florida, bigging a big return to their lineup, posting a second clean sheet on the season and a 3-0 victory over Temple. And the Rookie of the Week is Bailey Sparks of SMU. He had an impact after coming on as a reserve for SMU in that loss against Memphis, playing a total of 70 minutes, attempting 2 shots and scoring his first career goal as the Mustangs had a brief 2-1 lead in that contest. In volleyball, 3 teams stake claim to the top position in the AAC standings following the 6th week of the season. Houston knocked off previous unbeaten UCF and Cincinnati, and won a pair of matches itself to join the Cougars and Knights with a share of the conference lead at 5-1. So there you go. The Cougs, the Bearcats, and the Knights all at 5-1. Houston 15-3 overall. Cincinnati 10-4 overall, and UCF 12-6 overall. Tulane and Tulsa right on their heels, both at 4-2. The Golden Hurricane at 11-7 overall, and rather the Green Wave, I should say, is at 11-7 overall. The Golden Hurricane at 9-6 overall. The Offensive Player of the Week in volleyball was Emmy Madden, played a huge role in Cincinnati's big conference wins, led the league with a .295 team hitting percentage over the weekend, and paced the conference to 13.14 assists per set in the 2-0 showing. The Defensive Player of the Week is Katie Georgiadis of Houston, as she helped them into the first place tie at 5-1 of the conference, led the American with 5.22 digs per set, and had 19 digs, a service ace, and 3 assists for the Cougs in their 5-set win against previously undefeated UCF. Swimming, the Women's Swimming Athlete of the Week is Gabby Grobler of SMU. Had a strong performance in the season-opening SMU Classic, which featured 4 top 25 programs in the field. She was the runner-up in the 200 individual medley with a time of 1:59.12, and also posted top conference times of the season in the 100 backstroke at 54.13, the 200 backstroke at 158.67, and the 100 breaststroke at 104.10. And the Women's Diving Athlete of the Week is Katie Denninger of Houston, as she posted a pair of NCAA zone scores to open the season in a dual meet with Texas A&M. Scored 288.45 points off the 1-meter board to crack the podium in third place and lead Houston in the event, and added a score of 288.90 points in the 3-meter diving to finish third overall.
Hey Jeff, it's Ryan Wallen from owlsdaily.com on the 24/7 Sports Network. I just wanted to personally reach out and congratulate you on the 100th episode of your show. Here's to the next 100, even though by that time your show won't be the AAC report anymore. Listen, just promise me that once UCF's move to the Big 12 happens, you won't call your show the Big 12 report. No, but for real, it is always a pleasure being invited on your show to talk AAC sports. I look forward to talking with you here again in the near future leading up to Temple's game against UCF at the end of the month.
Hey, thank you, Ryan, for those kind words, and also thanks to all the folks who passed along congratulatory messages throughout the program for our 100th episode. Here's to 100 more. As always, please follow me on Twitter at JeffAllen_88 and the Knightline Sports Network at UCF_Knightline. This has been the AAC Report, only on the Knightline Sports Network. I'm Jeff Allen. Thanks for listening.